going over the Chapter P tests taken September 26, 2018, version A and B. Multiple choice. So here, the first question here, I have something to the third power, and I'm just going to distribute that, so that will become 4r to the third to the r to the 12th power over 15. And then the second part here, where it has the negative exponent, I'm going to move this one upstairs, so that becomes r to the third to the positive 2. So notice here that that negative 2 now becomes positive. So then I can just multiply here. 3 times 2 is 6. So 4r to the third plus 12 plus 6. What I'm doing there is because you're multiplying the same base, I can add all the exponents. Over 15, so you have 4r to the 21st over 15. And that would be choice B. Question number 2, x squared minus 4x plus 1. I'm going to see if that factors. Ax squared plus bx plus c. So a times c is just 1. B value is negative 4. There are no two numbers that multiply to be 1 but add to be negative 4. So I'm going to try, you could use quadratic formula, but I'm going to use completing the square because a is equal to 1. I subtracted the c value to the other side. Completing the square, use the equation b over 2 squared. So b value is negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2, and negative 2 squared is positive 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And here if I factor, I get x minus 2, x minus 2, and x minus 2 squared equals 3. You can square root of both sides. I get x minus 2 equals plus or minus radical 3. And when I add the 2, goes to the left of that plus or minus, so x equals 2 plus or minus radical 3. So that would be choice A. Alright, question number 3. What equation represents a circle whose center is negative 2, 3, and whose radius is 5? So when it gives you the center, that is your h and your k, and then you need the equation x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, and then you just plug those in. Don't forget to highlight the minus sign. So this will read x negative 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 5 squared. So this will give you x plus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 25. And that'll be choice C. Question number 4, multiple choice solve for x. So I'm going to distribute the negative 2 here. So I get 8 minus 6 plus 4x, and then distribute on this side 3x minus 3. I can combine my terms here, so 2 plus 4x equals 3x minus 3. Subtract 3x from both sides, I get 2 plus x equals negative 3. Subtract 2, I get x equals negative 5, which is choice D. Question number 5, write the expression in the form of a plus bi. You're going to have to multiply by the conjugate. The conjugate is just taking this expression and changing the math operation there. In the numerator, I can just distribute, so that gives me 10 plus 6i. Here you're going to have to FOIL, or I'm going to use the box. 5 minus 3i, 5 plus 3i. This will give me 25. So we're multiplying first, and then we're going to combine like terms or add 15i, negative 15i, negative 9i squared. Remember, the purpose of the conjugate is a difference of squares problem, so these will cancel. And you're left with 25 minus 9i squared. Remember, the I squared here becomes negative 1. So 10 plus 6i over 25 minus 9 times negative 1, so that becomes a positive. So 25 plus 9 gives me 34. And you'll notice that these are all evens, so I can just factor out 2. And we're left with 5 plus 3i over 17, which is, if you separate it, it's 5 over 17 plus 3i over 17, which would be choice C. And then the last problem, the can. Fill in the blank squares so that each row and each column contain all numbers 1 to 4. Numbers in the cages may repeat as long as they are not the same row and column. So the first thing I'm using, I'm going to look for all the freebies. There's 2 there, you only need to do 1. You already finished 1 on the test. So sometimes I like to write a visual on top. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 plus 4. Look at this box here. Add up to 7. There's only 3 and 4, or 1, 2, and 4. 3 boxes to add up to 8. Something 3, 3, 2. Could do 4. 1, 3, and 4. Multiplied by 2, so that'll be 2 and 1. Take a chance there. If I subtract 3 from 10, that means there's 7 left, so I can do 4 and 3. 3 numbers that add up to 6. Well, this can be a 3 or a 4. So that means this number has to be a 1. Sorry, that has to be a 3. This one has to be a 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 gives me 2. I'm missing a 1 here. So I'm missing a... let's try switching these. 1 and 2. So now I'm missing 2 up here. 2 subtracted from 7 is 5, which means I have to have 3 and a 2 here. Or 4 and 1. I already have a 1 there, so subtract 4. 1, subtract 3, missing a 4. 3 plus 4 plus 1 is 8. Freebie is 2. 1 plus 3 plus 2 equals 6. 1 plus 4 plus 2 equals 7. 3 plus 4 plus 3 equals 10. Freebie 4. 1 times 2 is 2. So 6 multiple choice questions times 2 points each. Name and period. That gives you 14 on the front side. Alright, so let's go over the back side. Solve and graph in interval notation. So this is a quadratic, so I'm going to set it equal to 0. X squared minus 2x minus 15 greater than 0. I'm going to go ahead and try to factor this. So I get a times c is negative 15. My b value is negative 2. I can write out my factors here. So I know it's going to be 5 and 3. One of these has to be negative, so if I add those, it'll equal this number. Remember, you only have to do the x when a is equal to 1. So I have x minus 5, x plus 3 is greater than 0. So I'm going to set each of these equal to 0. Means x is equal to 5 and x is equal to negative 3. Now, these are my x-intercepts for my graph. Give yourself a quick visual. So negative 3, 5, y-intercept of negative 15. So graph might be minimum somewhere over here. So the graph's going to look like something like this. And then I'm going to use my test points. I'm going to use these points here. They should actually be open circles. Because it's greater than. So if I pick negative 4, negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9, negative 1, that gives me a positive. 9 is greater than 0. So it would be true. Pick 0 as my another test point. 0 minus 5, negative 5, 0 plus 3, negative 15 greater than 0 would be false. And then I'll test one past this, which would be 6. 6 minus 5 is 1, 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 greater than 0 is true. I'll double check that with my calculator. So x squared minus 2x minus 15. I'm going to go to my table, so second graph. I'll just type in my test points, negative 4. 9 is greater than 0. That's true. Then 0. Negative 15 greater than 0 is false. And then the other number is 6. You get 9. So my solutions are going in this direction. Or in class we also talked about how visually that's these points here are going up, open circled. So I'm going to, this is coming from negative infinity, parentheses, all the way to this point, which is negative 3, not including, it's supposed to be open circle. And then u, you can see that big U, kind of like U as in union. Then over here, not including 5 to positive infinity. And then I'll just put it closer. And this is my answer. So I need solutions to the left, solutions to the right. And remember, I give you guys a little hint with the celebrity story. When your interest in someone else is greater than, you should split up. Number 8, find the exact distance between points D and F. So that would be from here to here. This is 2, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll call this A and call this one B. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. C squared equals 2 squared plus 6 squared. So 4 plus 36. C squared equals 40. Square root. C equals, tells us exact. So exact means radical or a fraction. So that is the square root of 4 times 10. So square root of 4 is 2. 2 radical 10 is our exact answer. Question number 9. Find the equation of line passing through the point negative 6, 5. So that's my point. And it's parallel to 3x minus 5y equals 9. So parallel means that slopes 1 and 2 are equal. So I'm going to transform this into first going to find slope. I'm going to transform this line that's in standard form, because it has both the x's and y's on one side. I'm going to solve for y to get in slope-intercept form. Means y equals 3/5 x, and then negative 9/5. Now my slopes are the same, so if you wrote something like this, y equals m, call this the first slope of our first line, you can see that it's the coefficient in front of x, so m1 equals 3/5. So then I can just put in 3/5, and then that means our other slope is also 3/5. So I have the slope and another point, and I can use point and slope form. So new equation, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is point and slope form. And I'm going to highlight these minus signs. So I have y, and then my y1 value is 5 equals 3/5 x minus x1, which is negative 6. So y minus 5 equals 3/5 x plus 6. Now this one does not tell us which form. If you did slope-intercept form, that would be 3/5 x plus 18/5. And then you need to add 5 to both sides. So adding 5 is 25/5. Right, because you just do 5/5, multiply across. This is an equivalent fraction to 5. So y equals 3/5 x, 43/5. So either of these answers here in orange would be acceptable. And then you can always use your graphing calculator to give yourself a visual. Let's put this one. Three-fifths x plus 43 divided by 5. And then I'll type in the original equation in slope-intercept form because my graphing calculator is in slope-intercept form. So 3/5 x minus 9 divided by 5. Zoom and standard 6. So you can see the lines are never touching. Negative 6, 5, left 6, up 5. So here's my original equation, positive slope, negative 9/5 y-intercept. And then my new equation, 43/5 would be maybe around 8, positive slope, and goes to the point negative 6, 5, left 6, up 5. Question number 10. A dead missile is fired straight into the air from military installation. The missile's height is given by the formula. H of t equals negative 16 t squared plus 400 t plus 100. So here's time measured in seconds. Here's height measured in feet. My military installation is a building, and because you have a y-intercept of 100, this is 100. When will the missile be 2,500 feet above the ground? So they want to know, let's say, there's 2,500. So they kind of want to know when is it here, and then we can find an interval between that time. So I'm going to have this equation down. Change my t's to capitals so I'm not confused with plus signs. And then this problem, it tells you that 2500, they want to know what the height is at 2500. So 2500 equals negative 16t squared plus 400t plus 100. Subtract 2500. I have 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 400t minus 2400. Factor out negative 16, so I'm going to get t squared negative 25t plus 150. So I believe I can factor that. Two numbers that multiply to be 150. And then add to be negative 25, so negative 30. 30 and 5. So negative 30, let's see, negative positive. 30 and 5. Maybe that's not right. So 150 times 1, 25 times 6, 50 times 3. I think it's these two numbers. And then, nope, 15 and 10. Yeah, because I was like, these two multiply to be a negative, so this would be negative 15. Let's use a different color. Black. So negative 15 and negative 10. That works. T squared, negative 15, negative 10t, negative 15t, and then positive 100. So that works. So you chose equals 0. T equals 10 and 15. So when will the missile be 2,500 feet above the ground? Between time 10 and 15 seconds. So that's my answer. So on your picture, you can label that this point is 10 and that one is 15. What's the name of my son? And that is extra credit. Hezekiah. Or you can also call him Kaya. This side was 16. This side 14. I had a 30. Hopefully you wrote nicely. Circled all of them. Have a great day. Alright, let's go over the version A and B student response. Here the student recognizes that the leader x and the arrow, and then they multiplied.
I love that.
Gives you 12 and then gives you 6. And they got that problem correct. This student didn't recognize that quadratics is set equal to 0, which you already have it. And I think they were trying to go by the square root method, subtracted 1, and then they thought those were like terms, which they're not. Student tried to show solving the quadratic by quadratic formula. Everything was substituted correctly. And then right here, this is where they got wrong. They should have factored added 2. This would not be correct. All right, let's take a look at this work. They wrote down the correct formula. X cosine for the, well, this should have been, it is an XY coordinate, but we usually say H and K. So negative 2 becomes positive. And then 3 goes here. This student, positive 2 minus 3 is correct. They just forgot 5 squared is 25, not 5. Alright, so for this question here, for number 4, let's see, they distributed correctly, yes. Subtracted 2, negative 5, yes. Subtracted 3, I wrote wrong here.
right here, distributing. Negative times negative is positive. That should have been a 4x. Alright, for question number 5, the student knew that the conjugate of 5 minus 3i is 5 plus 3i. But from here, they didn't know how to multiply. This student, kind of messy, but shows you the distribution 10. 2 times 5 is 10, and then 6i. And then here, it looks like all these arrows is FOIL. So first, 5 times 5 is 25. Outside 5 times 3i gives you positive 15i. Negative 3i times 5 is negative 15i. And negative 3i times positive 3i is negative 9i squared. And so let's go down here. They cancel those out because one's positive, one's negative. It showed us that I squared is negative 1. So negative 9 times negative 1 gives you positive 9. That gives you 34. And then you could just separate those and reduce them. So 10 over 34, and then 6 over 34i, and then reduce those by 2. That was correct. This student did the box method for the difference of squares for the denominator. Everything looks correct here. This should have been i's canceled, yes. This should have been positive. For some reason, the student didn't know how to continue. That should have been positive 9, that would have been a 34 for the denominator. And then you just had to multiply there. So close. Show you some student work of a correct Ken puzzle there. I want to show you this one. They have a repeating number. That's why we circled that 2. That 2 shouldn't be there. On the back side, I wanted to show you this student mark here for number 7. Okay, so they subtracted 15 from both sides. This is good. And then here, they didn't factor correctly. Two numbers that multiply be a negative 15, but add to be a negative 3. I think they meant to be negative 5, and that should have been a positive 3. So I circled it. I'm going to bring their attention because they could have just wrote positive 3 there. So just moving the 15 across, I gave them for the 2 points. Now, something down here that I did like that they were doing in the right direction is they knew the keyword is OR. So they knew not one solution, and then they were starting to do test points, so that was a good thing. So this person knew split up, but I think the big idea, they didn't know that anything to the power of 2 is called a quadratics, and then you can solve your quadratics by quadratic formula, factoring, completing the square, graphing it, or square root method. Be careful there, these are not like terms, so they wanted to add 2x to both sides, and they forgot the x, so that's incorrect. Alright, this student here wanted to do the splitting up. I think they were thinking about absolute value equations and inequalities. When the absolute value equation is isolated, then you split one positive. So I see a positive 15 and one negative 15. Incorrect. Okay, this student here used quadratic formula, subtract 15. This is good. Everything's good. Everything looks good so far. And then we get down here, so 2 plus 8 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then negative 3. So they have our good test points here, right? And then I'm not sure if they knew that it was, I see what they made a mistake. They knew that it should have been an OR problem, I'm assuming, so it got cut off, but parentheses, negative 3 to negative 3, so from over here to there, correct, close circle, open circle, because the inequality is greater than, and then union, I put the U there, and then they switch those two, because if you're coming from here, it's 5 towards infinity, not infinity towards 5. So I gave that, you can't see it, but it says a 3. Just wanted to show you this one again. Parabolas to the power of 2 are U's, not V's. V's will be absolute value equations, which we'll be graphing for chapter 1. Here's another student, subtract the x squared from both sides, and then they combine like terms there. So remember, again, it shows students not understanding how to solve quadratics. Anything to the power of 2, you're solving quadratics, quadratic formula factoring. The student got into quadratic form, factored it. This looks okay. Then they know that the values right here, this is their mistake. So we don't split the inequalities. We use the test points. And so they had negative 3 and 5. And I don't see any test points. I give them a 2. They could have tested 0 and then something like negative 4 and then like 6 and then put that into your inequality. So don't do this part. So I can cross that off. Don't do that. I'm going to show you this one. This was wrong and factored correctly. Got our 2 values. I think those are inequalities. I think they try to show us by greens and then reds. I told the student not to use red. And a couple of things. Open circle. That should be a parentheses. Parentheses not including the 5. We're joining these two, right? Union or. Give that problem at 3. Alright, for question number 8, you were supposed to find the distance between points D and F. Here is their formula. I gave them 2 points for that. And then they want us to distribute the 2. You can't do that. That would be misapplying the power rule because these are adding, subtracting. In order to do the power rule, they would have to be all factor, meaning by multiplication. Got the order pairs, labeled it, formula, 2 points. Substituted them in here, and then this should have been 3 plus 3. They multiplied there and got 9, which is incorrect. So I gave them a 3, and they're simplifying. Alright, I gave the student a 1 point. Notice here they did not write down the formula. They tried to do substitutions right away, which was incorrect, so I gave them a 1 point. Alright, I wanted to show you this one that they did the substitutions correctly, and then they were so close because -2 minus 0 is -2, and -2 squared is 4. So this should have read 36 plus 4 gives you 40, square root of 40, and 2 radical 10. But they basically squared it twice. -2 squared is 4, and then 4 squared is 16. That was their mistake. This student was almost there. Square root of 4, you just need to simplify that. Got a 3 instead of 4. Put that in your calculator. -2 squared is a positive 4, so this should have been 36 plus 4. Pythagorean theorem's correct. They should have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I give them 2 points for the formula. Only 2 points because that should have been 6. Alright, I wanted to show you this problem. The student is using slope, rise over run. Notice how it doesn't say find the slope or the pitch. It says the word find the exact distance. Distance is actually counting by the units. So this shows you like a pitch and this shows you a length. Alright, so F, they said, was -3. This should have been -3, 0. So wrong order pair, and distance from is correct. All the substitutions were fine. Alright, this one says find the equation, but this student just found slope. And the student took the standard form of the equation and then got y by itself and got a slope of 3/5 x minus 9/5. So these are equivalent equations. And then from here, they took the slope, and here, this is the equation for perpendicular. Remember, parallel is the same slope. So they thought this word was perpendicular. Would have given this a 2 if they had y equals mx plus b. Mx plus b, not the correct linear equation. You needed x and a y. Now this is interesting. They took this one, subtracted 9, set it equal to 0. I think they were thinking for quadratics to the powers of 2. And then they lined it up with slope-intercept form. Well, although this is a constant, your slope is not -3. Close, at least they recognize that they should kind of match up. Some things are different here, as this is an equal sign, not a minus sign, so you're going to have to put the equal sign in there and then get rid of this 5. So, I didn't think that was enough work. I think to get the 2 points, you had to show the slope of 3/5. Alright, this student was moving towards the right direction, got in slope-intercept form. So these two equations are, should have been 9 over -5, but they don't really need your slope 3/5. They put 3/5 there, and then took in the order pair, -6, and then 5, they got plus 6. And then just right here, I circled it because they got 3 out of 4 because they should have distributed. That should have been 3/5 x. That should have been 18 over 5. Right there. So close, give them 3 out of 4. Okay, so this picture here for the word problem number 10, I liked it. To get that second point, again, you're looking for, to just set up the right equation. So here, yes, we want the rocket when it's above 2,500 square feet. 2,500 feet. So it's here, and this is the vertical position, the vertical height. This is the starting point. So if it starts at 100, it must have been starting at a building. And then we're just looking at it when it's above that line. So this would have been a correct setup. Subtracted it, factor out negative 16. Here you factored two numbers that multiply to be 150. Positive 150 is negative 10 and negative 15. And then those add to be negative 25, zero product rule. Okay, so a lot of students got a 3, but I'll show you this one got a 4 is because it's between 10 and 15 seconds. So between there, this is when the rocket is above 2,500 feet. Okay, things were going kind of well for this student. They didn't recognize these were minus signs, so they got the correct equation, 2 points above ground between 10 and 15. A lot of students also picked exactly 10 and 15. Let's see if I can find this. I give this one a 3. Missed the minus sign there. This student tried to put in an x value of 2,500. So every x value they put in 2,500. Well, remember, if you put it in here, that's like your time. Height is a function of time. So time would have been 2,500 seconds, but this is feet, so that's measured in height. So that should have been over here.